You gotta see this. A Trump supporter got kicked out of a bar in Michigan for wearing a MAGA hat, and they had a complete meltdown on camera and started claiming discrimination. It's just too good. Take a look.
Get out of my bar.
Because I'm wearing a Trump hat.
A queer-friendly jazz bar has responded to backlash for kicking a woman out for wearing a MAGA hat. On Friday the 14th of March, staff at Chatterbox, a jazz bar in Indianapolis, Indiana, told Elise Hensley to leave their establishment as she was wearing a Make America Great Again hat.
Get out of my bar.
Why?
Because you're a Trump supporter.
I know, but don't you guys want our money?
No, actually we don't.
Taking to Instagram on Monday the 17th of March, the bar addressed the incident, writing, "On Friday, March 14th, a group of individuals visited Chatterbox and intentionally misgendered and harassed a Chatterbox employee, resulting in them being asked to leave by our staff. They then continued verbally assaulting our patrons and staff and threatened our establishment. We do not tolerate dehumanizing or disrespectful language or symbolism in our establishment." Elise Hensley, the woman who was told to leave, claimed the incident was discrimination.
You know this is like discrimination, right?
Oh, boo-hoo! Get out of my bar.
Yeah, it's interesting how the pro-business Republican Party is now attacking a business for operating in the way that they want to. You cannot call the police and claim discrimination if you're being kicked out for wearing a MAGA hat. You do not have a right to be in that business. No shoes, no shirt, no service. That's a principle here in the United States. And this video really encompasses MAGA because they have the biggest victim complex. If they're not served in a business that doesn't want to serve them, they'll claim that they're calling the cops on you. It's insane.
My trespass.
If you're trespassing, come back.
Why are you calling the police? Just because I got a Trump hat on?
You're trespassing.
For what though, ma'am? What am I doing?
So I literally got kicked out of Target today, actually just now. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, what? They were telling me that I should go back to my country and mind my own business. And I was like, what? And I totally forgot that I have this. I put it on, went to the gym, then I went to Target. But one thing I don't understand is, where is the freedom of speech? Where is my freedoms of wearing whatever I want to wear? If I dye my hair blue, make a huge tattoo on my forehead, everybody is totally fine with it. But when I'm wearing a hat that doesn't really say anything wrong, I think everyone in this country should want their country to be great, regardless of what they think about politics or who they are voting for, and especially living in this country. And if they're the opposite views, where is my freedom? If they're pursuing freedom so much and thinking that the opposite candidate will take away their freedom, why they're not practicing this freedom? Can anybody explain?
On cameras up here.
No, I just want to make sure I just. Yeah, what's up?
I'm Michael Weitzel. I'm being asked to leave by the police because of Donald Trump.
Hey, I'm a Donald Trumper. Dude.
You're a Trump fan?
I'm a man. Yes,
Yeah.
I am.
So I just want
all these coppers you got to deal with them MAGA, but they're not political here. They don't want any kind of political.
So those flags over there.
Those are pre-approved.
Those flags over there. Those aren't political. So my question to you guys is: are these rules equally enforced on everybody?
Here's my question to you.
And
You
the only
gonna
way I
go
can
out
do
here,
that
you go out
is if I enforce it with you.
Or you just go out.
Go out and handcuff. So I'm being threatened with arrest. What law am I breaking? What am I?
We ask you to leave. We ask you to leave.
You're asking me to leave. Am I being evicted from the premises?
You're gonna be handcuffed in a minute. You want to make a big?
We're gonna walk up. I'm being evicted from the premises because of Donald Trump. Because we can't wear Donald Trump hats in public, and so now I'm being evicted from the premises. We need a big procession to get me out of here. Trump is not welcome in St. Louis City SC Club. Trump is not welcome here.
So the two guys who were kicked out of Panda Express for wearing a MAGA hat, they're friends of mine. Long story short, Chris and Danny walk into a Panda Express. A couple of employees see MAGA hats they don't like, and they ask Chris and Danny to leave, which Chris and Danny comply immediately. And the employees, a couple of them, follow Chris and Danny outside to continue to confront them. I just want to say, a lot of people I've seen asking in comment sections are like, well, why were they filming? Why were they filming to begin with? Okay, so Chris and Danny live stream multiple times when we go out together, when we go to like protests or rallies or legislative events, before, after, sometimes during. We'll take a break, we'll go grab coffee, we'll grab tea, we'll grab food, we'll grab lunch, whatever. We'll go walk through a mall. We went multiple places together, go in multiple places just to use the bathroom. There's cameras rolling, they're live. I got my cameras all on me, GoPros, everything. MAGA hats, usually at least one of us have some kind of MAGA hat or something similar are on, and never one time out of all of this between Portland and Seattle, everywhere we went, Olympia, Washington, we've never had a single problem. Now, I do support private businesses' ability to refuse service to anybody. I'm not making a stink about that, but I just want to say that this reaction and what this led to is just highly unusual. And I say that as someone who literally walks around with people who have cameras all the time, and literally no one says anything ever. Sometimes people be like, "What are you filming for?" And we'll just be like, "Yo, we'll live," or like for YouTube or whatever, and people going about their way. But my biggest question in all of this is, Chris and Danny, why were you eating in a Panda Express when we live in the Pacific Northwest and we have abundant Asian options that are premium? Okay? I bet you won't go back, will you?
What happens when political belief becomes so divisive that people are actually being pushed out of everyday spaces? Some MAGA supporters are now facing backlash, rejection, and even being asked to leave certain places because of their political views. But here's the bigger question. Where does political disagreement end and unfair discrimination begin? Let's watch more clips and we come back to talk about it.
Remember how I told y'all people are cutting out Trumpers out of their families, friends, and whatever relationships they have? They're cutting out every single MAGA supporter that is there. And we're what, a week in and it's already this deep? And I have evidence for this. Watch.
I always talked about how my family had different beliefs, my grandma and my mom and my sister.
Different beliefs. Okay.
And how we always got along. And I wore my grandma's sweater to go vote, and I'm so sorry. I'm trying not to cry, okay? But my heart's broken. My grandma just sent me a very sad text. It broke my heart.
Did it now?
And my mom has yet to text me back today. I'm completely heartbroken that my family is taking it how they are.
Good.
I never did this to them when Biden won. Never. But
If you're looking for some good news right now, a lot of MAGA supporters are having their wives deported. If you don't know, there's a pretty common trend among some MAGA men that they marry women from other countries. You might have heard the term passport bro. Could be a country in Europe or Asia, but overall they are getting wives from other countries because American women don't like them. I've heard of multiple reports, specifically in Fresno, California, which is a pretty conservative agricultural town where I happen to have been born, that people there are being deported. One of these couples, the wife is from France and her 87-year-old mother is living here as well. They're both being deported despite the red MAGA hats they wear outside every single day. This has been happening a lot in California, Texas, and Florida among MAGA couples. And of course, they never thought that it was going to happen to them because they only thought it would happen to black and brown immigrants. But yes, they are actively being taken out of the country, sobbing with their red MAGA hats on. And that's the thing about this administration. They do not give a fuck about tearing families apart, even people that have been good citizens. And I do really feel for the poor grandmother who's almost 90 years old that's going to have to start a new life. But at least some of these people are learning what happens when you vote for an authoritarian because they do not care about you individually, even if you're white.
Owner at a diner tells a MAGA hat wearing customer that he has to leave the diner, and watch the reactions from all the people who are eating in the restaurant.
Until you take that hat off, you will not be served.
I'm not taking it off.
Well, then you will not be served in this restaurant.
They're shocked and angry.
Got to be kidding me.
We should all get up and leave.
And they act quickly.
Should all get up and leave. I'm leaving. Come on, let's go. We're out. I would never stay here. That's it. You're making him leave? You won't serve him?
We won't serve him while he's wearing a hat that represents those.
Following her lead, both sets of diners are so disgusted, they head for the door.
This is part of a series called What Would You Do? The entire premise was actually a setup to see the reaction of diners, and they did not disappoint.
This is the first time I've ever done this, worn a red Trump hat at the bar. So I was a little, nervous. I want LGBTQ conservatives to come out of the closet and be seen and have these conversations with people. It's very important.
Stephen Barraza is no longer allowed to wear his red MAGA hat inside Sacramento's Badlands bar. Badlands posted their MAGA ban on social media, reading in part, recently a guest entered the bar wearing MAGA attire, which led to discomfort among some patrons. And moving forward, MAGA-related attire will not be allowed in the venue. Barraza took this photo of himself inside Badlands Friday night and believes Badlands' new rule is because of him. He says he was in the bar for an hour and he was the one made to feel uncomfortable.
There would be a couple people that say, oh, you don't belong in here. You should be ashamed of yourself for wearing that.
Barraza was in this group of Log Cabin Republicans, a political group representing LGBTQ conservatives. They were together for the California GOP convention.
This is discrimination, plain and simple.
Preston Romero is the Sacramento Log Cabin Republican president and was also at Badlands with Barraza.
President Trump has been one of the most outspoken supporters of the gay community.
MAGA voted against our community. Stay out of our safe space.
Brandon Harder says the Badlands MAGA ban is good and questions Log Cabin Republicans' policies on gay rights.
The jury's out on if they're actually a part of the community. When you vote against the rights of your own people.
Political disagreement has always been part of America's life. But when political identity becomes so powerful that people start losing friendships, jobs, businesses, or access to certain spaces, the conversation changes. Supporters of this backlash may argue that people have every right to decide who they associate with. Others argue that excluding people because of their political beliefs only deepens the division we are already seeing across the country. And there is an important distinction here. You can strongly disagree with someone's political views without treating that person as less than human. At the same time, freedom of association means people and private businesses may have legitimate boundaries about who they want to engage with. So where should the line be drawn? Should political belief have consequences in social and commercial spaces? Or are we creating a society where Americans can no longer disagree without completely separating from one another? Because if every political disagreement becomes a reason to cut someone off, how do we ever rebuild trust? The real challenge isn't agreeing with everyone, it's learning how to disagree without turning America into two completely separate worlds. What do you think? Is this accountability or has political division gone too far? Share your thoughts in the comments respectfully, and before you go, do well to like and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next.